DraftKings and FanDuel released their salary a month before the season started. Not surprisingly, news has since come out making some players great bargains. We'll reveal the 7 biggest value plays for week 1 of DraftKings and FanDuel's main slate, most of which we've yet to discuss on this channel. All of that, plus we'll celebrate passing the 9,000 subscriber level coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee with the Fantasy Football Consultants. Man, this has been our busiest preseason, and if you happen to miss any of our shows, all the links to all the shows on your screen are included in the description. Over the Labor Day weekend, we reached a milestone, 9,000 subscribers, and we're on our way to 10,000. And we've got a lot of cool things planned once we reach 10,000. In recognition of reaching the 9,000 subscriber level, I sat down for a first ever on this channel interview to talk about our journey. That's coming up later, but first, let's get to talking about the 7 value plays for week 1 on the main slate. All right, these are the 7 best value plays, at least at the time that we're recording this. Obviously, you got to stay up on the news. Certainly other value plays could come up as we near the game time. All right, the first one is New York Giants wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson. He is at the bare minimum on DraftKings at $3,000 and almost at the minimum on FanDuel at $4,700. He is a rookie. He's a second rounder. And he has won a starting job for week 1. He's going to play in the slot. And if you've watched Robinson play in college and in preseason, although this guy isn't the best route runner, he is dynamic and explosive once he has his hands on the ball. So I would think that the Giants would make an effort to get him the ball in easy plays, giving him an end around, give him a short pass and see if he can run. So, it's something that you can potentially do and save a lot of money if you want to take a shot on Robinson. The beauty is with his salary, it doesn't take much for him to return his value. All right, let's first talk about the Arizona Cardinals environment. Chase Edmonds, who got a lot of receptions, is gone. Christian Kirk, who got a lot of receptions, is gone. DeAndre Hopkins has been suspended. So granted, they do have Hollywood Brown, but who else do they have to catch the ball? Rondale Moore and tight end Zach Ertz should play large roles if they play, because both of them are questionable. When asked, Coach Cliff Kingsbury just said it'll be close if they are able to suit up for week 1. So this is something you're going to have to watch right up to the inactives. Obviously, Kingsbury is playing some games here. He doesn't want to tip his hand, which is understandable, to be honest with you. They don't care about us DFS players. So if one of these guys is out and the other one is playing, wow, that is pretty attractive. If both of the guys are out, then look out for AJ Green, who's at 4,600 and 5,700 on FanDuel. All right, the one point I want to make sure that you guys know is that this is a great game environment. Arizona and Kansas City has the highest over-under on the slate at 53.5. So it should be a shootout and a relatively small spread. All right. At number 4 is someone we've talked about all week, Mike Davis. He's also in a great game script. He has a 28 implied total being on the Baltimore Ravens playing against the New York Jets. They're 7-point favorites. So you think if they can get up, as the lines makers expect, they should be running the ball a lot late in the third quarter and fourth quarter. The only question is, will it be Mike Davis that's running the ball? Gus Edwards is already definitely out. The question is, will J.K. Dobbins play? And you just have to watch the news to determine right up to game time. If J.K. Dobbins is suiting up, then don't start Davis. Now, I do know that they signed Kenyon Drake, but I think he should be more of a pass-catching option, and I would expect Mike Davis to get most of the carries, again, assuming Dobbins is out. All right. The number 5 best value play is Dameon Pierce. Wow, this 4th round rookie has made a huge impact in the preseason, so much so that Houston released Marlon Mack, the veteran. Now they re-signed him on the practice squad. But let's be clear, Dameon Pierce is the primary back on Houston for week 1. Now, I got to tell you some of the caveats, and so you don't get too excited. You do have Rex Burkhead, who's on the team, who is going to be the pass catching back. So you have to ask yourself, do you think that Houston, who's an 8-point dog, can at least keep this game close? If so, I think Dameon Pierce is going to get plenty of touches. And at 4,800, and on FanDuel, he's really a bargain at 5,400. He is more than worth the price. All right, the 6th best value play is quarterback Jameis Winston. A huge bargain on DraftKings at only 5,300, less of a bargain on FanDuel at $6,700. So if you want to pay down for quarterback, which is totally understandable and something that we recommend in our NFL DFS Master Class, Jameis Winston is looking pretty darn good at 5,300. Why? Well, last year, he threw for less passes than any other quarterback. However, there's a lot of things that point in this game that he should be throwing the ball more. He's got a much better receiving core. So Chris Olave, the rookie, they didn't have last year, obviously. They signed Jarvis Landry, and he's a weapon. And continuing with the drama of Michael Thomas, who, of course, missed all of last year, he was looking like his old self in preseason, and then he had a setback with his hamstring. But the latest news is that it looks like Michael Thomas will play. So if Michael Thomas is playing, and there was a concern earlier in the preseason that maybe Alvin Kamara would not be able to play due to his legal issues, but Alvin Kamara is going to play. So all of that, lots of weapons for $5,300, especially if Michael Thomas does play. Okay, the 7th player on our list is Michael Pittman. And he's really not a value play on FanDuel at 7,200, but I argue he is at $5,500. DraftKings is just giving him away, given his role on the Colts as their clear number 1 wide receiver and an upgrade at quarterback with going from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan, especially in his accuracy. So those are the 7 guys that we think are big value plays on the respective site. Now, obviously, you're not going to play all these guys, but we give you this value play because what happens if you're like, I really want to get to a player and I'm just short on salary? For example, one of the top 4 running backs that we're so high on. Then, depending on the news, as I've talked about, you might want to slide one of these guys in your lineup to get to that key player. All right, in recognition of reaching 9,000 subscribers, I did sit down with fantasy football consultant Jack Grant. I hope you like this interview. I think it's both funny and insightful about our journey. Take it away, Jack.
And in celebration of reaching 9,000 subscribers, we wanted to ask you a few questions that'll give the viewers some insights, if you don't mind. All right, Eric. So the first question I have is, what's the secret to the success on the channel?
Look, I know we are just a small speck in the YouTube universe, but I'm really proud of how this channel has grown in a very ultra competitive NFL DFS community niche. But your question, that's the secret to our success. We have a co-host. A lot of other NFL DFS shows is just one person. But by having 2 people, you can have a back and forth. You have different opinions. You have different skill sets. And I'm so lucky I get to do it with 2 of my best friends, Michael and Gary. We have a lot of chemistry on the video. And I think that's because for Gary and Michael, I've known them for 30 and 20 years, respectively.
I think that's a perfect segue, into what I'm about to say now. And that as the second person interjecting here, I saw some of the footage on your fantasy football show from like 30 years ago. Like, what's that all about?
No, I think that's awesome that you saw that. Our co-founder Gary Kurtzman and I have had a show back 30 years ago when we were in college and talking about, you guessed it, the NFL. And I think those two college kids would be so blown away that we now have a show where thousands of people tune in and watch our show each week.
That's real neat. What is something that the FFC community might be surprised to know about the channels?
I think they would be surprised to know how much impact they actually have on the content of this channel. Look, that's not true for ESPN. You don't like an ESPN show, they don't care what you say. You're just one of millions of viewers. No, we really listen to our FFC community, whether that is specific comments they make in the comment section, especially when we hear it multiple times, or based on their behavior, we can see through YouTube analytics. In other words, what shows get the most views, get the most likes? What are the retention rates that people have? So we're reviewing those on a weekly basis.
Gotcha. And so I noticed you talked a little bit about the comments and the analytics and some of the real-time feedback that you're taking in, but do you have any other examples of something that you changed due to some of the feedback you've gotten?
Oh my gosh, we've changed a lot. I'll pick something that we adjusted just this year. It was all about making sure that we get to the promised content as quickly as possible, because we noticed not only comments made, but again, in the YouTube analytics, that some people were skipping ahead, or worse, dropping off when we didn't get to the content quickly. So we got a new rule we say around here at the FFC. We call it the 2-minute warning. So within 2 minutes, we need to get whatever the promised content that's in the thumbnail or it's in the title. We want to get into that within the first 2 minutes of the video.
What would you say is the biggest challenge that this channel's faced in all of its 4 seasons?
Without a doubt, it's when the co-founder Gary Kurtzman had to abruptly leave the show in 2019 when his wife had a serious stroke. That event made me seriously consider about shutting the channel down completely. But big thanks to Michael Wiley, Damon Levy, and John Smalak, who stepped up to co-host the show. And, I want to thank our FFC community who stuck with us during this really difficult time. But it has a happy ending. Gary's wife fully recovered, and Gary returned to the show.
Gotcha. So he returned to the show, but not for this season, correct? Well, why is that?
Yeah, well, it's a much happier reason. He's now a full-time high school teacher, and this is his first year. And as anyone who's taught before knows, your first year is very time-consuming. So he just didn't have time for the show this season.
All right, Eric. So how did you come up with the name Fantasy Football Consultants?
Oh, boy, that's a good story. I'll tell you. Gary and I got together before we ever started the channel and said, we want a descriptive name that tells what the show is all about, which is giving advice on fantasy football. So we knew we wanted fantasy football in the title, but we didn't know what the third word should be. So we thought about the word help and advice and didn't like it. So we literally pulled out a thesaurus. I think we went online and looked up the thesaurus. And among the words that spit out was consult. And as soon as we saw it, we said, we got it. Fantasy Football Consultants. We thought it had a great ring to it.
I think that's perfect, considering you spent over 20 years of your life before you retired and, as a tax consultant. So I couldn't think of a better name myself.
Yeah, I was a tax consultant, and we really are consultants on the show. It's basically based on our expertise and research. We give advice for our reasons for either picking a team in NFL Survivor or picking an NFL DFS player. And it's up to our viewers, our clients, to decide whether they're going to follow it or not. Look, football is inherently volatile. So we fully acknowledge that there'll be plenty of times that we get it wrong. But we should be right if we follow the principles we discussed earlier a lot more than we're wrong.
Is there anything you want to say to the FFC community, before we wrap up the interview here?
Oh, gosh. What I really want to say is thank you. thank you from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of all of the different fantasy football consultants that have appeared on the channel. Thank you for helping us get to 9,000 subscribers. You know, Jack, a lot of people ask me, you know, how can we contribute to the show? We really enjoy it. Do you have, you know, anything that we can give you money? Believe it or not, we're not in the phase where we want money from our viewers. If you really like the show and you really want to support it, you can just do three things: like, share, and comment. And you hear that from YouTubers all the time: like, share, comment, like, share, comment. I was like, whatever, when I was a viewer. But seriously, guys, that's what really helps us in this ultra competitive NFL DFS and Survivor community on YouTube. We need to get our videos in front of more viewers. Once we get the viewers, I think that we have a great retention of those viewers, but we need to get it in front of their hands. So when we say like, if you can just make a habit in every one of your videos to click the like button, it just takes a couple of seconds. When we say share, just share our channel, our video, with at least one other person. It could be a family member. It could be a friend. It could be another person who plays in your fantasy football league. Or if you really want to go above and beyond, post one of our videos, links to our videos, in one of your social media accounts. And finally, comment. I don't know about you, Jack, but a lot of times when I was on YouTube, and still today, I think of it as a one-way experience. It's like watching TV. But we don't want our viewers to think about that. This is your opportunity to interact with us. It goes both ways. So based on what you watched in the video, tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what you liked. Tell us a different take that you might have had. We'd really appreciate it.
Right. And, you know, it's funny you mentioned to send to another fantasy football member in your league. I might be careful. I don't want to give them a leg up on, you know, my competition, a leg up here. So
that's what I've heard people say. Come on, share the wealth.
Yeah. All right. Maybe the ones I'm closer with. But okay, everybody, stop what you're doing right now and please smash that like button and put in the comment section what you like most about the show. And, you know, we'd really appreciate that. It gives great feedback and sure, you know, helps Eric and the FFC out. So please hit the like button.
Jack, thanks for joining us to celebrate the 9,000 subscriber level. Folks, we're only 1,000 away from the big 10K. We get a lot of extra little, gifts and from YouTube by making 10K, including opening up a potential store of FFC swag. So help us get there. So if you haven't subscribed, smash the subscribe button. What are you waiting for? Make it happen. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.